To be fair to them, I think we should all do it.
Nah. What? When is it?
Yeah.
Like a minute ago, 2 minutes ago.
Wait, why do you look so sad all the time?
It was actually 6.
No, I just started becoming today.
It's not true.
And I just quit again program.
So you didn't.
I did.
Why?
Because
Oh my god, I caught it.
unless I'm as good as fantastic as Tyler, it doesn't make a difference if like either it's me as a programmer getting or other people, because it brings no difference to the final product. The game will always look the same.
First of all, that's a terrible mindset.
Game programming. I'm an artist now.
Don't.
Wayne, no.
Don't compare your ability to the success of other people. Also, you are the programming director, so you're not allowed to have that opinion.
Were you at my talk at SGDA? Were you at my talk at SGDA?
No, I was not.
I literally covered this. Do programming.
I will do that like for my personal
You are an amazing
project.
games programmer.
I will do that for personal
always hold this
project.
belief.
All right.
I've also seen you helping people, and you're very good at it.
Yes,
Wayne.
Stop having doubts about yourself.
Yeah,
Wayne.
I
What
I haven't heard from the last person, and I don't really want to show
about it?
like
I will not do
but like part of it's like I could just go
You don't
upstairs
wanna
to
do that
the
anymore?
ICS banquet just to say hello, and then we back for the HR meeting. The thing goes from 7 to 9. I just covered this.
Ooh.
Like the ICS banquets tonight.
Why does it feel like it just got worse?
I look at these games.
Apparently.
They are not.
It goes
Is it
from
open?
7 to 9.
Am I allowed to get?
If I'm an artist, because of what I felt, the game would
I think they like
if I'm a
to
designer,
talk about like
and the hard
new
design, the game
like
will be
board
hard.
for ICS student council, I think, at the very least.
Yeah, you're allowed to go. However, I just saw Dexon walking in with like a suit.
Even if other
Yeah,
people
I mean that's not gonna stop me, but that's
Hey,
like the last thing that will
if
stop
you
me.
wait up for me, I'll join you.
If I knew this was a thing, this would be cool to be more on the
Yeah, that's why I feel like maybe I should stop by, but then again, admissions, one person's 30 minutes late, one person's not coming.
For your team? Yeah, just
Yeah.
tell them, be like, hey, I'm gonna go to this thing. If
I
you don't
mean,
want to go.
this thing got
I
posted
definitely
on
do
Facebook
think
and
that
on Discord.
unless you should.
I think it just didn't get posted on Slack.
If you were to choose something, it probably would be design because.
Alright. Alright. Shader workshop time. Get out of the way, output window. No, you're supposed to go away. Ugh! Thank God this computer is going away. Fuck this computer. Wow, it actually is just like, nah, you're not using Visual Studio Code. Holy crap. Oh my God, it closed on Unity.
Are you gonna go, Brian, to the printer? It's just upstairs.
Oh,
it's
no.
60
I don't know.
All right,
Is there
it
links to,
crashed.
like what it is, like on a Facebook event?
They just put it on Slack recently, just now.
Alright, so this shader workshop is going to be hella cash because I don't have a game plan. Alright. Y'all have been working on games, right? Y'all have probably looked at something and been like, I need a shader for that, right? Cool. Has anyone... Cool, I hit the X there. Okay. What do you guys want to know how to do explicitly? I might not know the answer to it, but we can figure it out together. Like any effects that you really, really want to know. Because like, I was going to go over stencil buffers today, but I don't feel like I know them well enough to like properly give you a good rundown of them. They're very cool, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to teach something that I don't have explicit knowledge of. So today I'm going to essentially say, hey, give me something I don't know, don't have explicit knowledge over, and we're gonna learn it.
I have something.
What is it, Wayne?
Do you remember our first game jam? The liquid you made in bottles that will move.
Oh yeah.
What was that?
Oh, that one's hard. That one I have to look up a tutorial for. I can give a very. Let me see. That one's pretty tough. So I can definitely do the bottle. So the bottle is going to be kind of a simple Fresnel effect because that material was actually two separate materials, I want to say, where essentially it was a Fresnel for the bottle itself, which is just the oh gosh, I wish I just had like a function for Fresnel because I've written it so many times. Essentially, that's going to be float 3 normal. That's not how you spell normal. Float 3 normal. Oh, and view direction probably. Well, actually, we can do view direction in the O dot normal is equal to unity world space normal. Where is that? Object to world normal I dot normal or V dot normal.
Yeah, and it's business casual. I don't want to concentrate on but I would have liked to have known this was happening. Why didn't the clubs like talk to each other?
It got posted in our Facebook.
That's not what I mean.
All right. So float 3 view dir is equal to, oh gosh, was it object to, yeah, it was the object to, oh gosh. How do I do view dir again? Was it underscore main camera, underscore camera? Oh my gosh, please Google. I want to say it was like view dir is like, it was like Unity main camera. What is it? Camera projection. Yeah, it's hard. World space camera position. Yeah, it was world space camera position. And I guess I'm gonna need minus, and I need the world position, so float 3 world pause. Text chord 1. Alright. And then O dot world pause is equal to unity object to world. Wait, object to world direction. Object to world normal. Object to world direction. Where's object to? Why is it not unity object to world position? Hold on. Object to world, there. Unity object to world. Oh, I have to. V dot vertex. And then world space camera position minus I dot world pause. And then return, what is it? It's like pow, saturate, the dot product of view dir and normal I dot normal. I swear I need to like write a library for all of this. It's almost like I should try and make myself or my life easier by writing abstract code like a good programmer would do. What did I call this? Unlit. Alright, this is gonna throw a shader error, but We'll worry about that in a sec. What did I call this? Tutorial. Okay, it should be there. Normalize on 60. Normalize. 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 It's hard to see where my mouse is on this. Let's see what happens if I just cut one. It's almost like it not work. What'd it do? It's a very specific effect. Okay, so that's view direction, but that doesn't seem quite right. It's the dot product of the view direction.
I feel like that could be used for like foiling effects.
Probably. I mean, a lot of things just can be used in shaders, where it's just like, oh, that looked cool. Let's use that. Let's do it. But yeah, okay, so I dot world position minus. Does that need to be? That probably needs to be normalized. Otherwise, I have a feeling it's just gonna be like, what the hell are you doing? Also, did I not put a semicolon there? That's wild. How did I do that? Alright, let's get rid of this POW and see, because honestly, that should be okay. On line 60? Why do you elude me? Alright, let's just not saturate it even. The view direction and the I dot normal should give me that, because it's the normal and the view direction. And if they're very similar, they should give me 1. Am I not doing something right here? Dot products.
What's your problem?
I don't know. This is always the fun part. Hold on, I'm gonna do the bad thing. Sorry, I just want to make sure I did this right. Because that should be that. World space view direction and surface shader. Yeah, it should be the normals. And, why are you using surface shaders? Give it to me in frag. World view dir is normalized. World view dir I dot position. World dot reflection is equal to. Well, that's not what I would have thought. World dot unity world space view direction. Oh, there's just straight up a function to give it to you. Oh, that's annoying, but okay. That's fun. Alright, let's see what that's like. There we go. So you'll see that it kind of has a black outline. And what we want to do is we want to say 1 minus that. Saturate. I wish I could just write sat. Sat. That should essentially invert it. So now we kind of get like this white outline. And so essentially what we're doing is we're saying like, hey, take the normal of which way I'm looking and the normal of the face. And then essentially what we're doing is we're like, okay, remember, if they're completely against each other, it's 1. If they're parallel, it's white. Or sorry, it's 0. It's -1. If they're perpendicular, 0. So originally, it was the dot product of normalized I dot normal in v direction, which meant the core of it is going to be completely dark. Or sorry, the core of it's going to be completely bright, which means, hey, that's 1. And then as we go further and further out from the sphere, it's going to be 0 and go dark. Essentially, what we did is we subtracted 1, which meant that we said, hey, wait, saturation, that actually shouldn't work, should it?
Okay.
That's fun. It's very fun. Okay, so 1 minus saturate should push us. Saturate shouldn't push us to positive if it's -1. There should be an absolute value there. Hold on.
I'm gonna ask Toby really quick what he thinks.
Give me 1 secundo. Because saturate shouldn't work. Saturate should just stop it. Returns the smallest integer not less than... That's weird.
For the free list. Next is always going to point to next thing.
That shouldn't work that way.
Head will always point to. Is in the documentation.
That shouldn't
So, like,
work.
It's kind of like how whenever you iterate them through.
What happens if I do this?
Okay, so you call the ICS thing out, right? And
Is it
then
doing like a wrap?
as soon as you find
That's weird. Okay. 1 minus 1 is 0.
As soon as
1 minus...
you
Oh,
have
that's what's happening. Okay, took me a second. Essentially, what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, whatever the dot product has, 1 minus that. So when it's directly looking at you, it's going to be 1 minus 1, and then essentially going to 0. And as we go farther and farther out, the dot product gets smaller and smaller until it is 0, and we just get left with 1, which is why we kind of have the bright outline around it. So what we can do now is we probably want to actually make this transparent. So let's do render type transparent. And oh man, I'm gonna forget render Q. Oh, that's how you spell Q, right? Transparent. So that should mean from shader. No, that's not how you spell transparent. Let's just set it equal to 3000. I spelled Q wrong, I think. No, wait. Q-U-E-U-E. Yeah, whatever. Transparent. And then what we can do is we can say, hey, float. Oh, right. We need to set the blending mode. Did I teach about blending modes?
So let's say, or let's do
Is that like grab the color,
So,
like which is already here, and plus the color of this material?
when we first
Yeah.
got
Together?
Yeah.
I remember.
Alright, cool. Thank you for remembering what I did not.
So at the very beginning,
What we can do is we're probably going to need to blend it. So blend SRC,
and then so
blend SRC, blend SRC alpha,
So, well, let's say you allocate
and 1
4 bytes.
minus SRC
Allocate
alpha. Wondering if that's spelled correctly. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So we also kind of get like this white outline on a transparent object.
Oh, I have.
I didn't normalize something somewhere. Hold on.
That's cool. So in this case, this
Or whatever.
Yes,
and so
it
by
do.
splitting basically means
However,
we're splitting it into 2 separate blocks.
it's not quite right because it's getting a little bit too.
It's either in the middle.
Yeah. Well, like around here, it's like very dense, and as I go farther and farther out, I'm wondering exactly why it's doing that. Because the dot product of
Prepare in advance right here to do the first meeting.
no, that didn't do anything. hold on.
Sense,
Unity object to world normal.
to
Yeah, it's,
communicate the values that
yeah,
you want
it's
to
still
impact
dependent
on the culture.
and
Yeah.
whenever
It
you're
doesn't have to be
That shouldn't.
always going to be at
I was told,
So like, so the second time we'll.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that myself now. What it probably is it's taking the dot product when, as you get closer and closer and like past 1 or smaller than 1, essentially what's happening is that, gosh, let me think about this for a second. As view direction is getting smaller and smaller, I dot normal stays the same, view direction stays different. Let me try flipping these. Y'all are seeing the actual mindset of shader programming, which is me hitting a bunch of buttons and being like, haha, I know shaders. It didn't work. Alright. Well, we have the underlying effect, which is, hey, a transparent thing. And then what we can do is we can add essentially another sphere. What? Yeah, it's kind of the glass bottle.
Like the glass bottle.
What if the glass bottle's made
This
out
is
of two
kind of what
different
we're
primitives?
doing, actually.
try to stop on this.
Yeah, so,
We'll be back.
for,
And we're gonna need another shader, another
oh, no,
material.
no, so like, let's say you're framing here,
Oh no.
Don't worry, we have a history of showing up to those things
then,
really underdressed.
Because I see pictures and everybody's like wearing suits.
Yeah,
And then art, yeah.
What are they going to?
The ICS banquet. Has it been with us today? Or it's business
I don't know what.
Yeah, it's business casual. But they're not doing business casual. It is our business casual.
if you're framing
I started following this country on this with the internet because of this special for
yeah.
What's good clothes gonna do for you?
good clothes won't get you a job.
Yeah. Or will it? Also, there's another quotation mark.
And that feels
What?
weird.
There's the extra quotation mark.
Oh. Alright, so we have kind of the outer layer.
Whoa!
It's still raining.
We have the outer part now, and now we want the inner part of the liquid.
Wait, what are we trying to make?
We're trying to make a liquid shader that Minion Makes Art did a long time ago that I copied once for a Game Jam game. However, I'm not good enough to do it, so I'm sorry.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I'm sorry.
Are you recording this, by the way?
Yeah, I'm recording it.
I love people.
There's no one watching.
Oh no.
I didn't publicize this one.
I can show this to my grandchild like 50 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was Itai. He was a dummy. He didn't know what he was talking about.
Whenever you're creating,
But yeah,
Set
so
up the multi-screen title.
the what?
so you're splitting
The
a
mul-
larger.
Did I?
Uh,
I don't know. Look. If anyone is mad at me, they have about a week to do it.
Victor, oh my god.
Michael has about a week to get mad at me.
Wait, why is my
Because I didn't set up the stream title properly. Whatever. If he calls this just Shader Workshop, it'll be technically correct. I didn't come in with any plan.
The size of the blocks.
Alright, I'm gonna actually look at what Minion did.
Or what you're requesting.
What did Minion did?
If it's
Who's
greater than what
Minion?
you're requesting for, then you have to split.
Minion is a really good shader artist
You'll have 2 blocks
on
all around
Patreon.
the
She's
block
fantastic.
for
Uh,
however much you're requesting.
She publishes all of her tutorials.
But you had to be a Patreon?
No, actually.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So,
Why is she amazing?
Should I read this after the Quebec code?
yeah, probably. So this is what we were kind of trying to fill out.
Whoa.
Where we got the glass effect via the Fresnel. However,
Mhm.
I have a feeling that's wrong, cause
Yeah, because it doesn't look.
yeah, it doesn't quite look like that. So I'm wondering what I did the wrong.
Wait,
Uh, I think actually she just has it be a transparent fake liquid mesh by only rendering anything under a line based on world position using movement and sine wave, wobble. Shader takes.
How do you make it move like that?
Yeah, so that's some of the very harsh stuff that I don't know how to do.
Wait, is the wobbling all shader stuff?
The wobbling is technically so Hold on, I need to make sure that.
God, the screen is horrible.
Yeah, the screen is tough to look at. Okay, no, wait, there is some Fresnel stuff in there because there's a V direction in here. Cool. Rotate around in degrees. Text world position dot rotate around in y degrees.
Is there any way you could like
Oh my god, yeah, I can't read this.
zoom in?
Oh, thank god. Alright, so rim. Okay, so foam rim color, rim power, top color, foam rim.
But it hasn't started yet. I don't know why you got up so early.
Oh, so it has seven.
Yeah.
View direction. Ha! I knew it.
Just gonna wait.
Ah.
There's someone there, but it's just on seven.
I'm thinking of it too much like
There's like a couple people there.
reality.
Oof. Okay, so what Minion did to make it move was she had to essentially do 2D rotation around the Y axis. So
That's cool.
this is a little bit tough and a little bit technical, and it's something you'll learn in graphics classes if you take those.
Which one?
All of them. They all go over it at some point because no one listens to each other and no one knows what each other teaches.
So
We learned it
whenever
Yeah, probably. Essentially,
I guess whenever
for
you're
rotations
splitting
in
a
3D, okay, so for any transformation in 3D, if you're doing scaling, rotation, translation, what you want to do to easily get it to work on a computer is you want it to just be able to multiply what you already have and then get the output. So the way to do that for, hey, if I want to move on like the x-axis, y-axis, or z-axis, if you have a 3x3 matrix, you essentially just change the last three, because these are the ones that essentially correspond to your actual location.
Last three.
Oh, is that right? That doesn't sound right.
Which
I need to-
column?
I need to-
Well,
Hold on.
we did matrix multiplication assembly. It was fun.
I remember this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 4x4.
Oh.
Hold on. Stretching, squeezing, rotation, shearing, reflection. So, finding or where's translation? Translation. That's not affine transformations. Okay, no, I was right. So in 2D, you essentially, yeah. In 2D, essentially, you want to say, hey, here is my final x and my final y, and you want to multiply your original x and original y by your translation x and translation y in the identity matrix. The identity matrix essentially doesn't do anything. It will essentially cancel out whatever you're doing everywhere else. What she's doing is she's doing the rotation matrix. So the rotation matrix on, I guess this is the y-axis, or yeah, this is probably the y-axis, is cosine theta, negative sine theta, cosine theta. I cannot explain this to a very good degree. Just know that when you plug values into this, when you plug degrees into this, you get what you expect in rotations.
Got it.
So that's what she's doing. There's also a lot of stuff about perspective projection. The reality is we actually don't really work in a 3x3 matrix. I want to say we actually work in a 4x4. Usually what it is it's literally you put in a 4x1 matrix, multiply it by a 4x4 matrix, and get another 4x1 matrix. If you remember your linear algebra, you essentially want to say, hey, I have the same amount of rows as I have columns, and then I get that output. So essentially, we're always multiplying, like whenever I move something in Unity, I'm essentially multiplying what's already there times a 4x4 matrix where the last column is XYZ1. And that's what she's kind of doing here, is she's essentially creating a rotation around the y degrees, and because we're only staying in the y degrees, she can do it as a 2D rotation, so she doesn't have to go full 4x4. And we can just kind of say like, hey, this is the float 2x2, cosine A, sine A, negative sine A, cosine A. Why is it cosine A? I don't know. What is sine A, cosine A?
Angles A.
Sine, cosine, sine, cos. Yeah, I'm actually curious. Sine A, where is she getting sine A from? What is sine A? Is sine A something? Oh, sine A is
Maybe sine for alpha?
sine A. Maybe? Sine alpha. Yeah, maybe.
Or she's just using A from her angle because there's no omega or something.
Yeah, she hasn't set these. So sine, cosine, alpha, sine A, cosine. What is this value? What is this? Eh, what is sine, cosine? Hold on.
Oh, that's a function.
Yeah, it looks like a function.
Who knows? I forgot to
Yeah. SineCosine. Yes, that is a function here. What'd it do? Returns sine of scalars and vectors. Oh.
What if it's on the quiz?
Really?
No.
I will be quizzing all of you about this at the end of this as well.
Wait, what?
JK. So essentially my understanding is that this function essentially output vector for scalar cosine and sine. So essentially what this does is this takes an input vector or scalar and uses that to essentially determine the sine and cosine. The way I guess this works is that it's an old school C-like function where it doesn't return anything. You just put in the values you want to get as empty variables. It sets them in the function and then gives them back to you. So essentially you're putting in a variable. This happened all the time in C. If you ever read old C, there's a ton of stuff that doesn't actually return anything. And if it does return anything, it's 1 or -1, essentially saying, hey, this succeeded or this failed. And instead of returning like either A multiple things, they just have a parameter that's like, this is an explicit reference. You're gonna grab whatever is gotten. We're gonna change whatever you give us, and that's your actual return. It's pretty wild, and this is probably one of those. So I guess, sorry, I'm just like flipping through. I have like, I just flip through a lot of stuff all the time. So what she's doing here is she's taking the xy or the xz and multiplying it by this multiplication matrix in order to get a float 4, and then she's keeping what looks like the y the same, so the vertex on the y is never going to change, but the x and z will. And then she's kind of just going through the standard, like here's the world position thing, which I did, get out of the way, I understand. Here's the world position x and the world position z. So my assumption is world position dot x, world position dot z, world position dot x. That's interesting. Rotate around the xz, rotate around the xy. So that's essentially saying like, hey, the values here are going to be rotating around the x and y. So like this, I guess. And then the other one is going to be like this, I guess. So we essentially get this way, this way, this way, this way. We're not ever actually going this way, which is rotation like on, I guess, the xy or xz plane. That doesn't make any sense. YZ plane and YX plane. We're only rotating around xz and
Okay, wait, why is pointing up and X and Z are pointing sideways?
yeah. So like if this is all right, let's do right hand rule. Sorry, now I have to think about this. So if this is x and this is z and this is y,
Okay.
we essentially want to be able to go like this, which is rotating on the z, and this, which is rotating on the x, but we're never going like this, which is rotating on the y.
Got it.
So I guess here what she's saying is, hey, I want my x position to rotate like this, and my z position to rotate like this. Rotate around y in degrees.
If you're rotating with the X and Z, wouldn't you rotate on the Y?
Yeah.
Does
Well,
that-
rotating on the y is specifically going like this.
Yeah, you
So it's kind of
turn
yeah.
it so it really doesn't change the look of it at all.
Yeah.
Like,
It's weird and kind of relative. It's kind of a funny thing to think about. Like everything is kind of relative. Like especially in this, because like technically, like in the object space, like yeah, we are rotating it this way and this way, but the reality is that y is always up like that, and we could be changing our rotation relative to like the absolute y or the object's y. It's all kinds of whack. I don't like to think about it. So world position adjusted. So this is essentially her taking whatever the world position stuff is and adjusting it. O dot fill edge. So world position adjusted dot y plus fill amount. So world position dot adjusted y. So what exactly is world position plus world position x times? Okay. So this is her essentially getting the top of it adjusted. In world position. So she's taking the world position and then she's adding the x, which will be like, hey, everything on this side, and then multiplying it by some wobble. The wobble is probably put in from a C# script, probably some noise just to kind of adjust the x a little bit. And then the world position z, again, multiplied by some wobble z, just to make it a little bit wobbly. And then essentially what she's doing finally is she's taking the final Y position and she's adding some fill amount, which is essentially like that's fine. Which is essentially like the foam. So in her original effect, we see like she kind of has some foam. And look, it's never really rotating like this. It's always rotating like this or like this and a combination of the both in order to get that effect. Like see. Like if it's rotating on the Y, it's the whole object rotating on the Y. Glass material, that's what it is. It's literally just a transparent object with a I'm an idiot. Don't worry about it. I was trying to do something that wasn't actually there.
So not possible?
No, I just like I thought that the way she had done the glass was a Fresnel, essentially like this effect.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it's not. It's literally just an extra material put on with a glass shader. Transparent, whatever. Oh, this is not her code. It looks too ugly.
Has some comments.
Yeah, has no comments. I need to comment my code more. Always comment your code. Fixed facing. I have no idea what this is. That is. I don't know what that is. Okay, so standard color, sample the texture, and then this is the rim light. So this is essentially what I did, I guess. She did a little differently, which is fine. I guess I'm wrong. And then, okay, so she's manipulating the rim lighting around it a little bit more than I did. I just did a simple Fresnel, but if you look with what she did, like there's a really nice bright purple, like almost shader magenta, like right along the edge here.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and she just manipulated it much more than I did. I did pretty much a very simple Fresnel. It seems like she did a Fresnel plus, kind of. This essentially will influence how deep the Fresnel goes. So like, if you wanted a really thin light, or a really thin edge, you'd probably turn this up, and then inverse, for thicker edge. And then she's getting the lighter parts of it, and then smooth stepping it. So this is essentially smooth step. Have I explained smooth step?
I don't remember if you did.
Yeah. Smooth step is essentially a function for creating a curve in terms of 0 to 1. Essentially, it says that like after a certain point, it'll be 0 from this point on, and then it will start gradienting to 1, and then it will continue. So in here, it's essentially saying like, hey, we're 1 at 1, and all the way to 0.5, we're gradienting to 0, and then 0.5 beyond, we're 0. It's a really nice way to get a very smooth looking like tune shading, in my opinion. I think a pure step function, which is essentially saying like, hey, if you're greater than this, you're 1, if you're less than this, you're 0, I think it creates a really harsh aliased tune shading. It's nicer to have just a little bit of blur in your tune shading in order to get like a nicer, smoother, softer looking shadow. Personal cold take. Okay, so here's the foam edge part. Foam, step, ugh. That's so she gets the harsh, where is she? Where is it? Where'd it go? There we go. That's so she gets like that really harsh line between the foam and the rest of it, is the step function. And then she's stepping the fill edge, which is input from the vertex, and then 0.5. So, what would that be? Step. That's weird. I thought step was like single. Oh wait, I just have the documentation up here. Step shouldn't be a single, right? That doesn't make any sense. I thought it was single, but... Scalar or vector reference, scalar or vector. Implements a step function returning either 0 or 1. Implements a cosine. Return x where a is... Return where x is greater than or equal to... Implements a step function 1 for each component x that is greater than or equal to the corresponding component in the reference vector a, and 0 otherwise. Okay, so essentially, yeah, that's returning 1 wherever, gosh, I keep on missing it. That's returning 1 wherever fill edge is greater than 0.5. So essentially, as you go farther and farther up, fill edge is going to increase, and then it's going to hit a certain point where it's over 0.5, and then it's going to just be fill edge from that point on. And then that looks like a negative sign. Let me make sure it's actually a negative sign, otherwise I'm going to... Yeah, that's a negative. Cool. It's not a dot.
It's too long to be a dot.
Yeah. Another I dot fill edge, and then this is the rim, so this is essentially saying, hey, I think that's going to say... Oh, what does she want to do there?
Say you're iterating, and then let's say.
You know what? Just let's go wild. It's easier for me to look at it inside of Unity and adjust it. Hey.
Test.
I know.
What?
I know.
So is it kind of like this? So like previously there was the head right here and then this right here. We allocate this right here. This becomes the head.
Wait.
Where's the foam
And
line?
this becomes the neck.
There it is.
That's how it works.
And then rim power, and then let's change the rim to a nice like purple so we can actually see it. Wait, we can't see it. Why can't we see it? Blue? Yeah, it's very, very weak. Yeah, there's a lot of dead pixels, but you can almost kinda make it out. Let's change that to black, see if that stands out better. Yeah, there we go. Now you can really see the blue. Yeah, so that's the rim power.
Wait, what's it? Whoa.
Does it shrink as I get farther away? It doesn't look like it does.
No,
It doesn't get...
fix that issue.
Yeah, I'm wondering that myself now. So that should be this. So 1 minus power.
So if you go back to it, like zoom out.
It doesn't change all that much, so I'm wondering about that now
What's the
too.
grid going through the texture?
What? Oh, that's just like the grid, the Unity grid. I don't know why it's only showing like
Looks
I
really
think
whack.
I think it's just that the contrast here is so close that you can actually see it because this TV is so bad that like you can kind of make it out like right here, but you can't make it out anywhere else like over here, but then you can make it out here because the contrast gets suddenly so blasted. So, oh, and then that's the top fill color. And then that should be the foam. Yeah. And then fill amount. Wow, that's a really tight, like, that range is really blasted.
What happens when you move it around?
Yeah. So it doesn't have the script on it, and I think it needs like a rigid body to like properly kind of tilt around. Rim power. I'm actually curious how she did the cutting, because that's Z-right Calloff. Yeah, all right, Calloff. That makes sense. And then how did she clip that? Final result. It's not. Wait, is it not translucent? Q geometry, disable batching, true pass, Z-right on, alpha to mask on, transparency. Huh. All right. Did not know that alpha to mask is the thing. That's not the way that Unity teaches it.
Yeah. There's like an ocean.
Oh, and she's doing okay. What? That's a ternary operator. Essentially, it's a very fast way of doing an if-else. But I think in this case, it's just going to be like... I'm not actually a fan of that because, again, branching inside of a shader, not a big fan. Yeah, I feel like there's a better way to do that, but if it's at return, it's essentially going to branch for like a second, and then it's going to be like, oh, okay, whatever, though. So you're not losing too much on that. Personal take, though, I still think you could do math and just solve this via math instead of branching. But also, she's a much better shader artist than me, so what do I know? Thank God we're almost done. Foam edge, rest of the liquid. So this is essentially the rest of the liquid. Step, I dot fill edge. So this is when... So that's the rest of it. Yes, that's interesting. Okay. Foam is I dot step fill edge. Fill edge really is in control of a lot of this. What is fill edge actually? Fill edge is the world position adjusted dot y plus fill amount. Plus fill amount. Fill amount. It's interesting. It's almost like it's turned upside down. Some of this math is kind of weird.
This is for my home, right? That's all totally my home.
But no matter what, it's always right.
I didn't start burger, so that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's... I need to look at this a little bit more carefully to understand the exact math going on here. Because this is some pretty wild math. Like, she's adjusting the world position dot x and y, x and z, and she wants to make sure that the world position adjusted y fits, and then plus the fill amount. I'm super curious about that plus fill amount. Because if I go negative, it actually fills it more than it does if it's positive. Because if it's positive, it kind of just goes disappearo. And there's like a really small range where that really works. View direction, alright, that's normal. This is like a very specific thing. World position dot adjusted for y, combine rotations with world position based on sine wave from script. Yeah, no, that makes sense. This all makes sense. I'm just curious as to why plus fill amount actually kills more of it than it works. It's annoying. Rim light. This is a smart way to do rim light, though.
Is it a unity thing, like with normal mapping?
I don't think it's a unity thing with normal mapping. There's not really any...
Like normal maps, you know, like where x is actually the opposite direction.
I don't think so. I just wanted to see how she did the rim light, because I really needed to make sure I understood how. And I still don't, so I'm gonna have to look at that later. That's fun. I dot normal, I dot v direction. Wait, where's she setting up I dot v direction? That's a different way of doing it. That's probably actually the better way. Okay. Why is that different? Okay. She's getting the view direction inside of the vertex shader, or vertex, instead of the frag.
Oh,
I'm kind of curious as to why that's different. Although it definitely is, I just don't know why. Alright. Well, we've essentially been looking at someone else's shader for like the last 30 minutes, and I can't explain it. So that probably means that
We need to learn more.
we need to learn more. We all need to learn more.
Yeah, we're all students.
I'm gonna remove all the keys from this keyboard.
Wait, that's not gonna help anyone.
Yeah, exactly. If I can't understand it, no one can use the computer to also understand it. But, yeah, so I'm gonna kind of high-key apologize for not having actually any content for this week. As it gets more and more into the quarter, I ran out of content. Big sorrow. Thank God we spent like 3 workshops on Blindfong, otherwise this would have happened like literally like a month and a half ago. But yeah, so truth be told, I don't really have any content for next week either.
I don't think I can come next week because like all my finals are at Friday.
Huh?
Yeah, because they decide to have like, actually it's Wednesday and Friday. Like they decide to have final like next week instead of the actual final exam. Purpose is chaotic. It's like, oh, I need to ask you because I'm a good instructor. Like Wednesday and Friday, when do you prefer to take final exam? Oh, it seems it's 50-50. Then we are going to do both.
What?
Yes. I'm like, what do you mean by both? Well, it's just giving you 2 tests. Like because what do you mean by 2 tests?
But yeah, so I don't really have any more content. If it's okay with you all, I'm probably not going to do a shader workshop next week. Unless within the weekend I suddenly and miraculously are like, I can fucking talk about that. Which I could theoretically talk about something that's going to be maybe relevant specifically to your capstone when those roll around. Especially if you're doing art or shader work for your capstone. And that's going to be talking about the art pipeline. I would love to give a quick talk about that next week. It's not really shader related. It's more around like, hey, how do you make sure your art pipeline works for you?
That would be nice.
Y'all would be interested in that?
Yeah.
So
Alright.
I can quit gameplay
Don't worry, Wayne. I've done that already. You don't quit gameplay programming because eventually you'll be requested to do gameplay programming again. And you're like,
Okay, I was able to.
I'm not
I mean, I don't want to specialize
Like
in
I'm
it.
fine again.
I'll be okay with doing
Because
it.
I will probably need to go to graduation school and learn something like machine learning.
gross. Machine learning.
So I have no choice. So I want to as a game programmer, so I quit that.
Don't save. It's dead. But yeah.
I'm still doing programming for my personal project, but for team projects, I don't feel I get credit if I'm a programmer.